Hello there, folks. Let's go to CSSBattle.dev and do the daily target. Oh, what a cute thing we got here. All right, so what do we got here? Oh, wow. That's kind of great. It's definitely a bunch of shapes, right? Bunch of shapes. I mean, yeah, I'm not really saying anything incredible there. So how do we create this shape? What are our choices? One of the more interesting choices to me is actually to use the nested template and go all gradient. Let's just go for all gradient and see if we can get there. I'm very curious to see if we can get there. So how do we do that? It's gonna be on the tricky side, but this is kind of a fun one for me. Now, is this the one that you would choose? It's hard to recommend. Nice. So I'm setting the margins to narrow this in precisely on just the part that's a figure, right? Okay, so now that I've done that, let's go top to bottom. Okay, so let's do a radial gradient, and it's going to be at maybe 20 pixels, 50%, and it's going to be the word circle, actually 1Q, since it's shorter. White, which is hash FFF, and then transparent. And we need some radius. How about 10 pixels? 10, not enough. How about 20? Too much. How about 15? 15 is correct. And then we'll put that center of that a little bit more over. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15. Now we're going to move that, we'll say the position is 0, 0, and then give it a width, 100 pixels. And now we have a repeating. Does this get what we want? Is that good? Not yet. We would like it to align perfectly with all the circles. 80, 60, 65. Oh, it's so close. Right, so yeah, it's just like an almost. So we got 2 that we want, but strictly speaking, it's not great. So let's do this and then make this a variable. So I'm still committed to doing it this way. So we'll call the white circle --w. I say var, so I need 3 of them. Var --w. There it is in the middle, minus 105 pixels. Does that mean that the last one will be plus 105 pixels? And I need a comma. Great. And I have one more in the middle. And that's actually going to be minus 20 pixels or something. 20, 30, 40. Okay, so we have 3 circles. Those are component parts. Now what's great is that we also can do this dark circle. Well, maybe that's not great, actually. Yeah, we'll just do another one. Radial gradient underneath. Radial gradient, 1Q. That color, 40 pixels, transparent. There it is. And I think we need the same background position, right? Which actually makes me think, we don't need it for this one. So we're going to do that. We're going to do minus 40 pixels. And then white in the middle. 15 pixels. Color stop there. Don't forget your commas. A little bit wider. How about 50? Boom. Now, I haven't forgotten this little bit here. I think that's going to be a conic gradient. I also haven't forgotten this part here. But one thing at a time. One thing at a time. All right. Well, if we're going top to bottom, I guess I can't really avoid that. So let's do the conic gradient. Top to bottom, left to right is how we're doing it. Conic gradient. transparent, 75%, and white, and a comma. There it is. We need an at value at 50 pixels, 20 pixels. And then we move it. 20 pixels, 40 pixels. So that's kind of right, but kind of not. So a little taller, 30, and then that goes 35. Yeah, and we've got little edges here. So how about this is at 15? Yeah, 15 sounds right. And then that means this is a little wider, 60, 61, 62, 3. There it is. Great. The next thing we need to do is another radial gradient for the other part of the blue. Radial gradient 1Q, the dark blue, transparent, and I think it's going to be that same 50 pixels. And then that one has to move over. Probably the position on that is 40 pixels. Yeah, works out math-wise. All right, so I'm going to add a background color. You can see what's not filled in. I'm going to juice the word red so you can see what we haven't covered. So now we need something that will cover the remainder of this. I know we can do it with 2. Can we do it with 1? Can we do it with 1 conic gradient? It would be, I think the answer is maybe. So because I like a challenge, I'm going to try and do that. Conic gradient, and that's going to be transparent, 25%, and then white, 50%, and then the remainder will be this light blue, 0. So that's the shape. So to do this, I need to not go crazy. I need to give it a position and a width and a height. I'm going to say the width is 50 pixels or 80 pixels, and the height is 40 pixels. And I'm going to set no repeat. That's the part so I don't miss out. So now I have that. So let's move it over. So I need to move it over horizontally first. 10 pixels, 40, 50, 60. So what I'm looking for is the point at which I can see this properly. 5, 4, 6, or that I am covering this edge. So 70, maybe 75. 75 looks right. And then that conic gradient is currently at 50%, 50%, so we'll have no change. So let's see if we do, so let's increase the width. So I want to see that white. I don't see the white part yet. So 100, if I do 200, there's the white. So now I need the at value. I need the proper at values. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And then we're going to adjust this at value, 10 pixels, 10, 20, 30, 40. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then the height of this needs to be taller than that, so we do 100, and then we can see it all. But we don't want that much. We actually only want the minimum amount. So let's try 50, 60, 70. I think it's 65. Is that right? Oh, no, too low. How about 35 here? That looks good. And then this width is too much. 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. There it is. And then we're going to let that repeat on the y-axis. So up and down. And I think that's a match. Let's submit it. So this is the hard way. or as I would call it, the fun way. And as you see, we just got a little bit over 600 in terms of score. This could also be done without doing the nested template. So I could put all these things. The numbers would be changed a little bit based on the overall body. So let's prove that. That's fun. Let's clump, and do the word body. And then that explodes hilariously because we don't have any constraint. I think the way to do it then would be what? Create a paragraph element. And give it a height. I don't even know what it said the height was. Height 60. And then you can kind of see it. Sort of. All right. Yeah, so we're doing what we said. And in this case, so without the nested template, we do body. Okay. We put our margins. We need to remove that last nested thing. Not strictly required, but just for keep some kind of semblance of good syntax. So now we need the margins. Margin 50, 20, 50, 10, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and then in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 55, 57. Okay, and then height. So we're kind of working 100, and that actually is matching pretty well. We have a few numbers that are wrong, looks like. So what do we have wrong? We're so close. Oh, can I make it work? So what are the numbers that are off? I think this conic gradient is sort of a problem. Okay. So issues-wise, so this conic gradient needs to be moved over. 25, there it is, 25, 30. And do I need anything on the vertical axis? Oh yeah, I do. Okay, great. And then let's put this conic gradient back. Plonk. Oh, and I need a comma. And then we need to move this over, what, 10, 8, 90. And we'll submit that. That's not too bad. Not too bad either. All right, and now let's do the most reasonable way to do this. So how many elements do we need? I think we need 3 to do it the next alternate way. So let's do a blank template again. And the first one we want to put in place is that far, because we want to go top to bottom as we add elements. If we overlap them using margins or translates to move them around, the ones that come after are higher. Unless you set a position, you can't use z-index. So that's the rationale for that. So thing number 1, so each one is going to get its own margins and border radius. All right, so now it's a matter of numbers. And I guess that we can do, so strictly speaking, can we just, so is there, so, all right, so let's, how few things can we do in? 100, there's 100, 70, 72. Okay, and then the height, actually, yeah, 2, 3, 5. And then the height is not 100. What we want is like 30. Yeah, there it is. So now we have that. So look at that. That's great. Now we're going to need more, obviously. Well, let's do it another way. So here's P plus P. P plus P is background. We're going to do radial gradient 1Q, and it's going to be this dark color, call it 50 pixels, and then this light color 0. And we can't see it yet because we need to set some margin 100, 2, and then we need a different height of 100. And then we need different margins. Margin of 0. Actually, we need probably 135. 135, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Kind of close. 102. And then this, it needs an at value. At 30 pixels, or actually no, 25 pixels. Oh, so close. Oh, is it 35? Oh, is it 40? No, it's 40. No, it's 50, because it's 100 tall, of course. Yeah, it's at 50 pixels. So 50, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now we need the next part of that. So what are our choices for doing the final? Do we need, I guess we need one more if we're going to continue with the, and let's call that B. That's so strange that let's change the way we do it to B, because we don't want the last one to inherit anything from the second one. So we'll add a P and then PC. And that's the final one. So C, we're going to give him a background of a ridiculous purple, and then set some margin. Margins for him will be, we need that 135 again, and then a minus 100. We don't see anything. How about we need a minus number then? Minus. There's my purple. So minus 135. 45, 55, 60, 70, 80, 90, minus 200. So minus 200, and then we have, and then we need some other numbers. 200, 0, probably 72. So something like that. And let's get rid of the purple. Now it's white. And now by adjusting this margin, 10, 20, 215, 217. And now, so that's a good deal, still pretty complicated, but a good deal simpler. And then we could also create a fourth element, one for the light blue and one for the dark blue, and that'd be another choice. I like that solution. That's not too bad. Let's minify and unit replace, and that's what do we do? 1, 2, 1.5, 2.5 ways to do that one. I like that, and that's a good deal better score. We use the same border radius for each. We're using this 1 inch. In reality, if I do 10 pixels, like you can see that 2, 3. At some point, there's a diminishing return on exactly how much that's going to constrain. And 1 inch seems to be a number that works well for the purposes of the Chromium backend. I kind of mistrust that number. I've gotten used to using it. I do prefer pixels, so I really understand exactly, because the playfield is pixels, and so inches, but they translate, and it seems to work for border radius. All right, that's it. I hope you're having a good day out there. Be good to yourself, be good to each other, and go make that web page. And yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye.